So this is chapter 17, process costing. So this is continuation of the first two chapters that we've talked about in managerial accounting. The first chapter was an overview of managerial accounting, more specifically cost accounting and how costs flow through the various inventory accounts into cost of goods sold. Obviously the focus there was on cost of goods manufactured. And then we went to chapter 16, which we talked about job costing. And there again, what we did was we focused in on what was the cost of goods manufactured. In other words, what was the cost of the completed jobs that were then transferred into finished goods. And then ultimately when we sold those, we would know the cost per unit of the individual product. And so this is just a continuation of that. In this case, we don't have jobs that are finished up, nice and tidy. What we have is process costing. So what we're doing is really looking at the cost of completing a particular process or cost of goods that are coming out of a department and moving into another department or moving into finished goods. So what we are interested in doing, once again, is looking at manufacturing costs, and we're trying to determine how much is related to completed work and how much is related to what's not completed or still in ending inventory. And that's again what we did in chapter 16. The completed jobs were, of course, when they're 100% completed, they're transferred out. If they're not completed, they stay in ending inventory. So that was pretty simple. In process costing, it's a little bit different. And so we're going to have to use a slightly different technique. I think the key concept, though, is still the same and is still fairly simple. What we really want to do is we want to basically take the manufacturing costs that are incurred in the period, and we know what those are. We know their direct material costs, we know their direct labor costs, and we know that they're factory overhead costs. And we want to be able to allocate those costs basically to the work that was performed in the period. And so if we can take the costs that are incurred during the period and match those up with the work that's been incurred in the period, then we're going to be able to determine how much of the cost is allocated to completed units and how much of the cost is allocated to ending inventory. And what we're going to do is we're going to split the work up into three groups. So the first group is going to be the work that we did to complete the beginning work in process inventory. So again, these are whatever units were in process at the beginning of the period. We're going to finish those up, and those are going to be the first ones done and transferred out. Those are done. The second group is going to be how much work did we spend on units in the department that we started and completed and transferred those out. If we combine those two, the combination of these two is what's basically completed and transferred out. Okay, so again, kind of just like above, these would be like completed jobs, but this would be how much work was done to complete on units or gallons or whatever it is that we're talking about. How much work was done on those units that are complete. And then the third is how much work was done on units that we started but we didn't complete. So this basically would be same thing with the jobs that we started but we didn't complete. Those belong in ending inventory. So this would again be how much cost are we going to allocate to ending inventory. So just like up above, in the end, we're going to have this total group of costs, and we're going to somehow allocate those into these three groupings. And if we do that properly, based on the amount of work we did, then we're going to have costs that are going to be able to be assigned to the amount of product that's complete and the amount of product that is not complete. Okay, so that's how we're going to basically do this. Now, how are we going to measure work? How are we going to determine the work that's been done? So we're going to measure work. We're going to measure that in what's called equivalent units. We could think about that as equivalent whole units. But we'll just say equivalent units for short. And we'll call that EU. That's how I'm going to abbreviate it from now on. But think about this. If we worked on, let's say, 100 units, and those units were 40% complete, it'd be the same thing as 40 equivalent whole units of production. So that's what we're going to do. Rather than work with fractions and try to figure out what percentages of work we've done, we're just going to convert everything that we're working on to equivalent whole units of production. So therefore, if we've done 40% of the work on 100 units, we're going to say that we've done the equivalent of 100% of the work on 40 units. In other words, we've done 40 equivalent whole units of work on those. So that's just an example of how we're going to do it. So if we did 60% of the work, we would have done 60 whole units, equivalent whole units of production. So that's how we're going to measure the work. So basically, we're going to allocate those costs to the equivalent units of work performed. That's how we're going to basically do this. Okay? Now there's going to be a couple assumptions here in process costing. One is that we're on a FIFO basis, meaning that beginning work in process inventory is the first units completed. So if we've got something that's in beginning work in process inventory, before we do anything, the assumption is, at least as far as cost flow, is that those are the first units that are finished before we do anything else. Okay, so that's going to make things easier for us. It's going to eliminate the need to worry about beginning inventory because we're going to automatically assume that it's going to be part of the completed units. And then we're going to split all costs are going to be split into direct materials and what's called conversion cost. So direct materials obviously is equal to direct materials. Conversion cost is equal to direct labor plus factory overhead. So we're not going to worry about dealing with direct labor and factory overhead separately. So we're going to put direct materials into the process, and then we're going to convert those into finished goods using direct labor and factory overhead inputs. So obviously those two are different, but for this purpose we're going to combine those. But they certainly are very different than direct materials. Direct materials are the physical ingredients, and conversion is the process by which they get transformed into a finished product. Okay? Now, with respect to direct materials, we're going to assume that 100% of the costs enter in at the beginning of the process. In other words, 100% of the costs are going to be included when the direct materials are added. So, for instance, if we are working on a batch of ingredients, let's say we're working on a batch of paint, and there's a big container, and we pour in the direct materials, and it's 1 day before the end of the month, we're going to assume that the entire cost of the direct materials was incurred that month. Even though maybe we haven't done anything to them, 100% of the cost of the direct materials will be included in the cost of the production for that month. Let's say that we only did 1% of the conversion costs, or we've only done 1% of the conversion work to get that paint direct materials converted into actual paint. We would only include in that month 1% of the total conversion cost as part of the costs of production for that month. So conversion costs, we incur those proportional to production, or proportional to the work that's done. For that period. So there, it would be similar to above, where we've done 40% of the conversion work on those 100 units. We're going to assume that we've done the equivalent of 40 units, whole units of work. Now, if we added all those 100 units of direct materials in, for purposes of direct material costing, we'd assume that all 100 units were fully, we'd have 100 equivalent units, because it would be 100% the minute they're added into the process. Even though they're only 100% converted, for purposes of direct material costing, 100%. So direct materials, it's either going to be 0% or 100%. For conversion, it's whatever percent or whatever proportion of the amount of converting we've done to get that from direct materials into the final, or into the stage where we're transferring it out of that department. Okay? So we're going to stop there in this particular part, and we're going to go on to take a look at an example in the next, in part 2.